We're in the rather plush backing surroundings of the Call of Duty Ghosts here at Activision's booth at Gamescom. Joined by Mark. Mark, thanks very much indeed for talking to us today. How are you feeling?
Thanks. Pretty good, actually, although it's the beginning of the show, so we'll see how it goes towards the end.
Yeah, ask you that tomorrow. It might be an entirely different answer.
Exactly.
I was going to say, how's the jet lag? Is you okay? You recovered?
It's a little rough. Been here since Sunday, so I'm actually I think today was one of the first times where I've really fully adjusted to the time, so I'm doing good.
You've done that right. Some people are flying in like yesterday and just look gaunt at the moment. We're here to talk about Ghosts. Can you give us just a quick recap, sort of the headlines of what you guys are showing at Gamescom?
Sure. I think the biggest things that we're kind of talking about, obviously, is multiplayer. But within multiplayer, it's things like our new Create a Soldier, which encompasses a whole new way to create your loadout, including perks, weapons, etc., but also character customization visually. So you're able to now, create a soldier that you want to represent you in the game. Instead of being a randomly selected third person, you are actually creating who you look like. We're also talking a lot about the new world that you're playing in. So the new maps, not just from a being new or being dynamic, which we've talked about, but also from a new philosophy of how we're doing maps. So we have a lot of maps that are sort of classic Call of Duty style, and they sit with that formula that we're used to. And then we have a lot of maps that are actually we've experimented with a new organic style of maps, so that the routes aren't as well defined visually. They're there, but they're more organic, and it adds to a really interesting flow for a lot of the new game modes that we're showing off. That being the other thing that we're showing off.
Lovely segue.
Yeah, exactly. Not only new game modes like Blitz that we're showing at Gamescom for the first time, but also talking about the new Squads mode, which is our third game mode, based around building out your squad and playing with that squad in either versus other players in their squad or versus other players' squads while they're offline, or even against just generic AI.
Let's sort of take each of those in turn. With maps, you're saying about you're keeping the classic COD feel for some maps and then doing something new for other ones. Do you guys feel the need to surprise players at this point, or is it easier for you guys to almost like just deliver that sort of fan service?
I definitely don't think it's how do I say this? It's not easy, and it is something that we really enjoy doing. I think for us, it's the best moment is when you see a player, and we saw this, I think, yesterday when we saw some players get some hands-on for the first time, and you see them react to something new in the game, and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. So for us, that's huge. So we definitely enjoy, surprising the players in certain ways, whether it's the way the sniper rifles are different this game, or the way maps move and change, to just being able to really create a huge number of perks in your create a class system, that people were surprised that they normally used to pick 3 perks, and with the new system, looking at it and just sort of like they look like kids at Christmas, ready to come up with what their strategy is going to be of what perks they're going to pick.
You sort of mentioned sniper rifles there. Can we sort of discuss snipers and weapons just generally?
Sure. So weapons in general, obviously a bunch of new weapons, and some of the biggest changes I think to the weapons category in general. One is snipers, we just mentioned. We've really sort of re-engineered the way sniper rifles work, and including visually. So now instead of just being like a black screen overlay and you feel sort of removed from the action, the scope is actually modeled in 3D, and the inside of the scope obviously is zoomed in, but the outside of the scope is not, and it's blurred out, so you still have peripheral vision even when you're aiming down the scope. And talking to a lot of players yesterday, they love the way the new sniper rifle just feels. They feel really powerful, really strong, and really excited about it. On top of that, though, one of the things I'm really excited about is actually marksman rifles. So it's a whole new class of rifles that we've never had before. So we've had assault, we've had SMG, etc., but this is a whole new set of rifles. And for me, I like playing them with iron sights instead of a scope, and because for me they remind me of Call of Duty 1 and Call of Duty 2 weapons. You know, so basically what a marksman rifle is it's a really powerful single shot rifle, something along the lines of like maybe this sort of in between like the single shot ARs from previous CODs and the sort of semi-automatic sniper rifles. Kind of bridges the gap between those two, and you have a really big, heavy-duty, powerful weapon that's hard to use, but really gratifying when you get a kill.
I mean, have you guys basically just sat up and had this checklist of weapons you would like to see in Ghosts? Is this just being almost like a wish list for you guys, or is it just been almost like a random selection of elements going, oh, we can put this, we can combine this?
No, it's actually been, you know, obviously every game we have to come up with a lot of new weapons and introduce players to new stuff. You know, that's part of what we do. But and so we see a lot of interesting stuff throughout the years, and we get excited about a lot of guns, and maybe they don't make it. But one of the things I feel like for this year that we've really had a fun time with is not only offering a whole new class of weapons and offering some great new, I think more new weapons than we've done ever in the past. We've also added some sort of special weapons. So some of the weapons have sort of unique characteristics that make them different from other weapons in their own class. And usually it's just an added attachment. So for instance, the Honey Badger, which is actually a real weapon.
I love the name.
I know, me too. Has a built-in silencer. So you have an assault rifle that basically has a silencer built in. You can still put 2 more attachments on it and have 3 attachments basically for free. We have another weapon that I really like. It's called a chainsaw. And it's basically a squad automatic weapon, a saw, but with chainsaw handles. So you hold it like a sort of like a chainsaw, and you can't ADS. So there's no like iron sights to ADS. You just kind of hold it out and you're just like spraying. And it's so much fun to play with.
You guys just trying to do the renditioning Predator there?
A little bit.
Just a little. Just a little bit.
It's not a bad thing to try to...
Oh, no, I wouldn't complain about that.
Right. Exactly.
But within the context of players getting hands-on with the multiplayer now, are you guys keeping an eyes out and listening to that feedback and almost taking what you're hearing here and continuing to adjust?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've actually brought some pro players into the studio literally 2 weeks ago, and just before we left for the MP event last week, and got them some hands-on and watched them play, and some phenomenal feedback. And I think one of the most interesting comments I saw the other day was one of the players who was really a phenomenal player, basically was talking about Black Ops 2, Black Ops titles, and Modern Warfare titles, and saying how they kind of feel very different from each other. From their perspective, they feel the actual feel of the movement and the health of the players. They were very different. So they treated those as very different games. And he was talking about Ghosts and playing Ghosts, and he was like, you know, this is really, really cool because it feels new. It doesn't feel like Modern Warfare, and it doesn't feel like Black Ops. It's something else. So he was really excited about that.
At this juncture, do the pro players know this series better than you guys?
It's funny. You almost think they do. I think they don't get the tech side of it or the development side, but do they know which weapon's better than another way before we know. The way a weapon's designed isn't like you can put them next to each other and go, oh, that weapon's definitely better than that weapon. There's something like 550 buttons that are pushed to decide, or dials that are turned to determine how a weapon performs. And these guys they know right away, and it's amazing how quick they can just catch on.
Squads. Let's talk about it. Why have you guys brought this to Ghost?
Well, it was a combination of the idea of creating your 10 soldiers. So we wanted this idea of we had the character customization. We added that, and then we said, well, what if you didn't just create one soldier? You created more than one, and so we got to 10 soldiers, and then we had actually some engineers working on new AI for almost the entire game. They basically just worked on AI and came up with an amazing, I mean, phenomenal new AI system for this new engine. It's when you see single player, you see AI kind of doing what looks like smart, realistic things, but that isn't what we wanted in multiplayer. What we wanted was super smart players that played like players. So they do things like, you know, they'll come around corners and knee slide and shoot up at you. They'll drop shot. They'll, you know, jump shot. They'll corner camp, you know. So they'll really act like players and act like humans playing the game instead of just smart AI. Yeah. And then that kind of developed into building modes around that idea. And so, you know, having your squad be something that you focus your gameplay on, so, and it becomes a strategy. So if I'm going to, say, play a 1v1 against someone else in their squad, I am now have the strategy of loading out my squad and making sure that they have the right equipment and the right weapons for the right map and the mode, so that I'm more successful. And that's going to be part of that strategy of playing against each other is really formulating what you're picking, what cards you're picking, in a sense, what your loadouts are going to be for all your guys, and that's going to determine how well you do. So it's been a really interesting process of development, and I think game modes are going to be really surprising for people and how much fun it is.
Okay, well, in closing then, a lot of people are obviously talking next gen, but what I'd like to talk to you about is this gen. I mean, this essentially is almost like your exit interview from this gen. I mean, have you guys looked back on it? I mean, have you guys had that process, or are you so focused on what's now and what's coming that you really haven't considered the road that was brought you here?
No, we absolutely did. And actually, very much from the very beginning, we decided that we didn't just want to do next gen and let someone else do current gen. We wanted to do current gen. It was important enough to us that we wanted to be the ones doing current gen. So, you know, it's a lot more work, but we did current gen and next gen in-house. So that was a very important to us. And because current gen is, you know, it's so... you know, it's been around for so long, and it's such a huge community still, that there was no way we wanted to give up on those guys. And a lot of the new features that we did was, the way we did it is, you know, if it was a next gen feature, we made that feature and then had engineers look at that feature and try to get that into current gen if it could. So some you can't. There's some graphic stuff you just can't do, right? But for instance, our audio engine, our new audio engine that models the world in real time to determine how audio is going to sound, was something that was a next gen feature that we weren't sure would make it onto current gen. But our guys really worked hard and were able to actually get that feature working on current gen. So current gen is by no means the leftover guy in this equation. They are hugely important to us.
But if people want to play this gen and then carry on the next gen, they can carry everything over.
Yeah, that's a you know, it's tough for, you know, if you think about it, for gamers to have to go out and buy a new system and spend that money and you know, and it affects their library. It's always like, oh, I'm going to keep playing this current gens, but you end up, you end up kind of pushing the older gen to the side and concentrate on the new gen. And that's a financially tough situation for a lot of people. So we wanted to make that as easy as possible for people. And so if I you know, buy the current gen in November 5th and then, you know, lucky enough to get for Christmas get the next gen, all that work that I've put into my character remains there. So you're not losing everything that you worked for. You know, your character can go back and forth. If a friend has an Xbox One and you have an Xbox 360, you can go play at his house and you can come back and go back and forth. It doesn't matter. Your character is who you are no matter what platform you're on.
Listen, thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us.
Thanks for having me.